Hello and welcome. My name is Jonathan. We're conducting an interview with an XJW you may have heard about. If you're not, haven't heard of him, you're going to hear about him today. The Compassionate Apostate. And I will bring you back in here. Hello, Jacopo.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Very welcome to have you. Very glad to have you aboard. I'm broadcasting live from whatever city this is in the background. I've been doing some storytelling, which requires me to have a green screen, and it's too much trouble for me to take because it's actually tacked to the ceiling. I said, forget it. It gets to be
it definitely useful.
Definitely. It took me a good 10 minutes to decide what background to use, and this is where I landed on. So you are known as the Compassionate Apostate. How long have you been going by that moniker?
It's fairly recent because I have published my first video clip about a year ago, maybe more or less, maybe even less than a year. Let's say around a year. I don't remember exactly, but
Not too long.
the Compassionate Apostate YouTube channel and music and activism endeavor is fairly recent. I've been an apostate for much longer than that, of course. But yeah, I was already looking to use music as a way to both raise awareness and also bring people together. And, for me, music was always a massive medicine and helped me out a lot in terms of dealing with the emotional pain and trauma that abusive, high control religious group as Jehovah's Witness has caused me. So I thought maybe there's other people out there that feels exactly the same way that I do, and they might appreciate the music that I want to propose or not, but they will probably relate to my story and to the things that I've been through and the kind of emotion that I'm trying to convey through this YouTube channel, through the music that I'm recording for it.
I think it's been excellent what I've seen so far.
Thank you.
I think about you're welcome. I think about music in general and how the Jehovah's Witnesses, the leadership will use music
Absolutely.
to affect people's emotions, to put across their message. Why not use that same tool set to help people to escape or to avoid being a part of it at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And not just for escaping, but also for people that is already out. Um, for me, I had a variety of experience through music that were profoundly cathartic. So while I was leaving the religion, it was already helping me quite a lot to try and stay afloat in terms of mental health and in terms of just keeping myself alive. And after that, even still to this day, uh, there are artists. Some of them I discovered them recently. Some of them I already knew them, and I just listened to them under a different point of view. There is really a lot of music out there that speaks to me and helps me out. Also, sometimes even come to terms. It doesn't take the place of actual therapy, and I actually recommend people who have been abused by religious groups to do therapy,
Yeah, I agree.
especially if you can do post cult counseling, which is a very specific kind of therapy.
Yeah.
We together with people that very often also come from a very similar background, so they can understand you better without having to ask you to explain yourself a little bit more in depth. But even though it doesn't take the place of therapy, it still definitely helped me a lot, and it still does help me a lot.
Yeah, I could see how it's useful. I did have a little bit of therapy sessions a few years ago, and I agree what you're saying. It's good to get somebody who's accustomed to this sort of thing, because I spent a lot of time educating the the therapist on what it was all about, and they're just like, "Really? What?" They couldn't believe some of the things that happens in the
Yeah.
group. So
Yeah, and you wouldn't be the first one, because, like, generally speaking, religious trauma is something that is being talked about in more recent decades, especially from after 2012, when Living the Fold came out from Margaret Winnell. That was kind of where things started to change in terms of people acquiring new knowledge about it, and therefore wanting also to be um, more active in terms of activism, and in telling one story, and in sometimes even trying to get in contact with other people that also have story to tell. Sometimes even outside of Jehovah's Witness, there's quite a few interviews that you can find online right now, of people that came from different eye control religious group and confronting each other, sort of comparing notes. And yeah, it's an awesome time to be alive in that perspective. Like, there is so much that came out just in the last few decades in terms of activism, and in terms of raising awareness about trauma and about abusive religious groups.
yeah, because there's so much out there available now. I imagine 50 years ago you might find an occasional book or something, but that's about it. You didn't have much
Yeah.
resources to go on.
Sorry, I'm gonna remove my glasses because the glare of the screen onto the glasses is bothering me.
No worries.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember as you might probably be able to tell by my accent, I am originally Italian. I moved to London, UK in 2013. By that time, I was already out of the religion. I left the religion that I was still living in Italy. I actually left in 2007.
Oh, okay.
And because of the fact that there's a lot of inside job, in terms of, while you're inside the group, they're constantly telling you, do not speak with apostate, do not look at their material, don't Google it, don't research it
Yeah.
online. So even though you know that there is something that you could be looking at, you're very discouraged um, from looking at it. And that kind
Yeah.
of discouragement, for a while, it's so ingrained into your psyche that it's gonna be lingering in there, and you're still afraid, even though you might have a bad breakup with the religion, you might still for a while not look at that stuff,
Yeah.
just because that constant reinforcing that discouragement is still working, still has a grip on you. So for a very long time, I didn't know that there were um, groups online, like peer support group, in which you can talk to other people who's also been in your situation, read their
Mm.
story, again, compare notes, ask for knowledge, for recommendation, for suggestion. I went through that whole phase pretty much on my own, so without looking up anything online, and without even remotely thinking that there could be something like religious trauma, as in something that is officially discovered, even though officially still not part of the DSM. But we're gonna bring it there. It's gonna happen. It's gonna
Eventually, I
happen at
think so
some
too.
point. But back then wasn't even remotely in the air. I never heard of the term. I was aware somehow unconsciously that I had just put an end to a long period of my life that was absolutely, most definitely unfair. But I didn't know how to call it, and I didn't know really who to speak about it with. Because then once you leave Jehovah's Witness, as you might know, you're on your own. My luck is that through music, I was already sort of building my safety network almost parallelly while I was living. So before I left, in the last few years, I made a few friends and we started to make music together. And I was the only one who was a Jehovah's Witness. So, but then again, they might be aware because they have already maybe met some other Jehovah's Witness and talked to them. So they might have known already, they might have been aware already that there was something dodgy about the whole doctrine, about the system of beliefs.
Yeah.
But there is so much that people just take for granted that they don't really know. So when you get out there and and you're like, I've been part of this group and they traumatized me, most of them will probably look at you and be like, that what? Like, are you surely that you're not exaggerating? How is it possible that that's even a thing? And then, as you were saying, you get down to the deeds and you're like, actually, now that you mention it, it sounds like it could be something traumatic. But yeah, it took me a while. I actually found out about peer support probably not longer than 3 years ago, possibly. And I just started to do post-cult counseling as therapy session just last year.
And how have you found the counseling? What's been your experience with it so far?
So it is going really good. It is going really good. It's helping me out a lot. Again, one of the greatest advantages is the therapist is also a former Jehovah's Witness. So when I'm in the zone and I am trying to get rid of something that I still keep inside, and I'm trying to describe a scene or a situation or a mechanism, I don't really need to get into the details because she knows already. She comes exactly from that background. The modules that we're going through, they're really good. And what I have noticed a lot is that not every time, especially if, like me, you have spent already a lot of time trying to look for informations in terms of trauma under the psychiatric point of view. Not every single time you do post-cult counseling, you're gonna receive something new in terms of knowledge. But somehow, even going through stuff that you think that you already know, you're gonna find yourself feeling emotions that you don't think you should be feeling in that moment. So I'll try and make it as an example, so maybe I wasn't too clear. During one of the last few sessions, I was going through describing how, for example, as Jehovah's Witness, we were not allowed to do sports in terms of team sports because the confrontation and the competition is something that Jehovah despised. And everyone in my family was part of a football team, or for a while at the very least, and I always wanted to, and everybody in school also was, and I was the only one not doing that.
And you don't want to expose yourself to those worldly people on the team.
Oh no, no, absolutely. Stuff like martial arts, not even on the table, of course, because that's all demonic stuff, plus is violent. And probably I was going through a variety of things that we were supposed to give up completely. as Jehovah's Witness, and how I felt upset as a child that I couldn't access all those things that already back then didn't really feel like they were really that bad. Actually, they are scientifically proved to be usually positive for a child. Those are experiences that a child should go through. And so I was confronting my therapist about this, and during the conversation, we read something that I know already, but because probably I was in the zone, and then we are really digging deep on those little details, all of a sudden I feel like I am possessed by this unholy rage, like the kind of rage that will make you go violent if the person that made you upset was right in front of you in that
Right.
moment. So I then had to describe that feeling to the therapist, and she told me, own it. It's okay to feel that kind of rage. There's nothing wrong with negative emotions, and this is something. This is a memo that Jehovah's Witnesses usually do not receive. There's nothing wrong with negative emotions. And
Yeah, because it's all
then
part of the spectrum of emotions, so you have to explore that too.
yeah, and usually negative emotions are like signals of something, so they're not simply to be overlooked. And so I had to recollect myself for a few seconds. I owned that rage, and then I was able to move on from there. But like, I was surprised because I always thought that this information we were going through, they were already inside me because I have read them somewhere else as well. It wasn't new knowledge, but sometime going together with somebody that knows how to guide you through that knowledge again, it really does the lifting, the heavy lifting. And so now, even though I don't know what's the actual mechanism, I can have those thoughts. It still makes me upset, but I don't get possessed by that sort of rage, like physical rage.
Okay, so that's kind of where you're at now. What started out your journey? So I guess, you know, tell me a bit about, your early life and then what led to your leaving, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I was born in, my family had joined in around, officially, I think around 1985, because they married that year after getting baptized. And I was born in 1987. I was always very much drawn to arts, both music and visual arts. I was even at very young age. I was going through. We had a lot of books of famous Italian painters of a variety of different epochs, and I was always even without knowing how to read, I would go through and look at the images, and I was constantly listening to music. Um, in this, I was probably lucky that my parents were listening to good music, I would say. Or at the very least, they gave me definitely a good inception, because like we would very often listen to the Beatles, we would very often listen to the Queen. Freddie Mercury's voice is still to this day is like a literal piece of my heart, and still to this day
For
one of
one brief
the
second, I thought maybe you were talking about "Hello, the Queen."
no. The
Okay.
actual Queen, not the
Queen the
monarchs.
band, yeah.
Yeah, we don't care about monarchs.
No.
Um,
We are the champions, my friends.
yes.
And we'll keep on fighting to the end. Okay. Anyway.
And still to this day, is one of the voices that gets me the most on a emotional level. Elvis we listen to a lot. Very classic rock oriented, and my mom maybe was a little bit less of a rocker, more into 60s and 70s songwriting. So yeah, that was my inception musically. And in terms of what I was as a Jehovah's Witness, I was awkward, very lonely.
Mm.
In almost all of the congregation we've been through, there was always a massive lack of people of my age.
Okay.
So I had to, in order to survive, I had to get used very quickly to speak and have a conversation with people that was much, or a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
Because usually people of my age were really scarcely available. So yeah, confronting myself with the external reality, I was really awkward. I was bullied really early. I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly when it started, because a little bit of bullying that has always been there, and it
I
started
got
to
bullied as a kid
increase
myself. So.
exponentially. Yeah,
Yeah.
but were you bullied for being an ex-Jehovah's Witness as well?
No, that's a different experience. But just
Yeah.
I was a small kid, so
Mhm.
some of the bullies at school would pick on me and stuff. So, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying
and
I
I mean, I
understand the
don't.
bullying experience.
Yeah. And I don't want to pin bullying as only Jehovah's Witness get bullied because everybody hates Jehovah's Witness. That's not the point. Like, to a certain degree, bullying happen regardless, and people that wants to bully you, they will always find a reason to bully you.
Yeah.
But of course, being a Jehovah's Witness made me stand above the rest in terms of I want to bully him. And then of course I was also a little bit chubby, and that didn't help. Of course, not doing sports and using food as a way to get comfort, that didn't help at all.
You and me traded places because I was very thin, very skinny and short, and now I'm a little chubby later in life. Anyway.
I'm working out, and I'm very proud of myself for how much I'm working out, and I'm
You're
being
looking good.
constant in it. Thank you very much. But I'm still on the chubbier side. The journey is far from over if I really want to get to the point in which I would like to get.
I should probably
But
start on my journey.
little by little. So yeah, that didn't help at all. And I guess automatically, without even being aware that I was doing it, I um, locked up myself even more and trying to look for comfort into music and arts. So then I ended up studying art as well in high school, and I got a diploma in it. I have been drawing comics for a while. I was very drawn to comics for a certain part of my life, and music was always there. But I guess I started seriously embracing guitar to try to learn when I was, I would say, probably 14, 15, no, 15, 15, between 15 and 16. And never been supported by my family on it. So I never had money to take lessons. And
I see.
nowadays, maybe it wouldn't be too much of a problem because there is so much that is freely available online.
Yeah.
Back
Well, it sounds
then,
like you've done good. I have a guitar, but I could probably play 6 chords.
Thank you. There's a few things that I've learned to do well, for sure. I don't consider myself a super accomplished Steve Vai sort of guitar player, but there's a few things that I can do well, and I'm good with them because they allow me to to express myself in the way I want to, for sure. So yeah, I the moment I started to get more passionate about playing guitar, drawing went down. So music went up and drawing went down, in terms of I
Yeah.
want to dedicate myself more to this. And in the beginning I was doing it on my own, and I started to experimenting in terms of writing my own stuff very much later, because for I struggled to sound decent for quite a while. So in the first band, which is the band that basically allowed me then to form a safety net and actually leave the religion, I was just a singer initially. So that
Oh, okay.
was my baptism of fire with music. And yeah, and even then, even though I was still processing stuff, I would still try and especially use the lyrics to,
Mhm.
leave a little bit of a hint of like, this is what I've actually gone through. But yeah,
Yeah.
to from there to becoming the Compassionate Apostate took me probably uh 15 years, maybe. So it's been a long journey. The thing is
Yeah.
also, I don't know if you had this, but like it's very common for people usually when they leave either Jehovah's Witness or any other cult or high control religious group. In the beginning, they think, we all think, that living is enough. As long as you're out, things are gonna be good. And then, so if I left in 2007 and now it's almost 2025, it means that I've been out for quite a lot. And still, like just a few years ago, I started to notice that there were patterns repeating in my behavior and situation I would find myself in, that were definitely connected to the kind of behavior that I developed while growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. And so I really started to deconstruct, 3-4 years ago. In the meantime, yeah, I've tried to survive to it, and I've tried to become better, but like was really roaming in the dark, because like I didn't know what direction I wanted to take, and I didn't know what to aim at in terms of, this is my problem and this is how I have to tackle in order to solve it. It's been a long process, and definitely I need to say thanks to the way internet developed for us as apostates, because like right now, again, there is so much knowledge that is freely available, and you go through phases. So you start to um binge on all of these interviews, and then you binge in the guys that are more keen to um deconstructing the actual doctrine. Yeah, I've gone through those phases, and I have binged so many videos about that. Now I think I am more keen in terms of interview. I'm more keen into listening people that is um that it's got out from a different kind of group. So I'm listening more to Mormons. I'm listening more to people who has left Islam.
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying to get knowledge about other I control religious groups as
Yeah.
well. Because then
Different
another thing that
circumstances, but a similar experience.
yeah, because in one way I want to understand better and recognize the things that are in common between groups. What are the common patterns? What is the so-called modus operandi? And then I just want to have more knowledge when I talk to people and they come from a different background. I want to be able not to be completely dumbfounded when they tell me about what's their opinion because of their backgrounds and their challenges. Because the other thing that is happening is then the other part of the music that I'm working on as the Compassionate Apostate is not the only thing that I do in terms of activism. Because that is good for me as an outlet. Can be good for people that feels about music the same way that I do, that I feel. But I also want to be more proactive. So I do volunteer for an association called Faith to Faithless, which is part of the Humanist UK. And with them, we try and talk to people that have been abused from any kind of high control religious groups. So I can get ex-evangelical, I can get ex-Jehovah's Witness, I can get ex-Catholic, ex-Protestants, ex-Islam, ex-Jewish, ex-Buddhist, because sometimes also Buddhism can develop extreme fringes and extremely high controlling groups as well.
Hadn't really
So
thought about
yeah,
Buddhism.
I wouldn't know. Before I started, I didn't have a clue. But actually, there are some Buddhist group that can also be quite dangerous and quite controlling. And I don't want to throw mud at Buddhism in general. But there are extreme.
Did we lose you? Either you're deep in thought or you're frozen. I think you froze. Ah, there we go. And welcome back. I probably have edited out the the dead space there, but I think the audience will get the gist of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, something froze in my laptop. I don't know exactly what happened. Anyway, where was I?
I lost my train of thought, so I'm not sure. You were talking about the faith to faceless and the different groups, Buddhist groups, and so on.
Yeah, and so yeah, I want to get my head. I want to wrap my head around the whole issue of the high control groups rather than just focusing only on Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah,
because I feel like if you it is important to raise awareness about all of the groups. So
yes,
and it is important even that there are people that talk specifically about a specific group. First of all, because usually when we talk about our personal experience, we talk about what we know and what we have the most knowledge about because we've been through. And that's absolutely very important. But in terms of advocacy, I want to do something that unites all of these groups and make them fight, of course, as a metaphor,
united.
as a figure of speech. Yeah, everybody against the same common enemy, which is not religion as a whole, but these controlling groups. And there's so many people who are affected, but like if you only see the Jehovah's Witness or only see the Mormon or only see people who lives Islam or who lives Hasidic Jews or whatever other group, they are all small niches, but if you take them as a whole, there's quite a few people. And also, and some people might disagree with me on this, but I feel like in society in general, the cult-like mentality is finding other outlets, especially in politics. And the way people behaves and reacts to certain stimulation from politicians is really, really dangerous. So this is, to me, it's not anymore just a problem of I used to be a Jehovah's Witness and I want revenge against Jehovah's Witness because they hurt me and they need to be held accountable for it and they need to pay.
Yeah.
But it is this is a social problem, and it's not just Jehovah's Witness, it's all of the controlling groups. And then now, on top of that, this is something that we are somehow allowing to contaminate the way politicians interact with people. And then that, of course, has a reflection on society, and we can see how people interact with each other using exactly the same way of reacting that we know very well as Jehovah's Witnesses, and people who have been trained in any sort of controlling group also knows this as well. But like, when you have been trained that this is the truth and this is the only truth that you are allowed to know, then the way you're gonna interact with people is gonna reflect that, and it's gonna reflect that by not allowing you to consider any other different point of view. And this is getting way too common in politics around the world, really. So I think that this is a massive issue, and it needs to be tackled on both ways, both for what concerns the actual religious groups, but also in the way politicians are trying to weaponize it against people.
I think you might have went silent there. Can you hear me?
In which point? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Your mouth was moving and there was no sound for a moment. So I wasn't sure if it was a mic issue. Yeah, we do see a lot of religious divisions in politics now. And just people fighting, and there's too much going on in the world, and we need people to be more united than divided.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it works, both on the political level and the religious level. It's all about causing confusion and then weaponizing the confusion to keep people divided. And again, I see certain sides of the discourse that are using this tactic more than other groups. But again, it's happening worldwide, and I can see, almost feels like this sort of religion were some sort of testing ground to then apply it on a broader scale. And it's really bad. I have grown up a lot since leaving Jehovah's Witness, and that happened because I was aware to be able to confront myself with people that came from a different background, that have a different life experience. I am trying to really put myself in places in which I can talk to people that sometimes have even a point of view that is completely the opposite to me, into what I think and believe. But we need to have this conversation, and we need to have this conversation in a humane way, because otherwise the only possible thing that can happen is that we're gonna, I don't know, escalate progressively until we don't become violent and just kill each other over having two different point of views, which happens every now and again. But like, if we are not able to really learn how to have this conversation, I fear it's gonna happen on a bigger scale. Listen, I've rambled on about society and everything. Let's maybe make it a little bit more personal, because otherwise I'm gonna end up sounding like a guru or something.
Okay, so I got to figure out a way to reintroduce. And we're back. I had to take a phone call, and here we are. So continuing with our interview. So you are obviously an accomplished musician. I can say that because I got to work with you in a video. So that's what ultimately led to this interview, I think. So I think what I'll do is I'll edit in a short clip of the video, and then we can discuss that process and everything. So here you go.
That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my vision, trying to keep up with you, and I don't know if I can do it. Oh no, I've said too much, haven't said enough. I thought that I heard you laughing, I thought that I heard you sing. I think I thought I saw you try. Every whisper, every waking hour, I'm choosing my confessions, trying to keep an eye on you, like a hurt, lost and blinded fool. Oh no, I've said too much. I said it all. Consider this, consider this, the end of the century. Consider this, said, it brought me to my knees. Said, what if all these fantasies come raining around? Now I've said too much. I thought that I heard you laughing, I thought that I heard you sing. I think I thought I saw you try.
And we're back. Glad you enjoyed that clip of whatever indeterminate length I put in there. So yeah, it was fun to be a part of that. When you approached me about it, I didn't realize I could pull off something in the sort of the heavy metal genre, heavy rock, whatever you want to call it. But it was a lot of fun. I do enjoy singing. I don't really do much in the way of instruments, unfortunately, because I didn't take the time to really learn them. But singing I can do. And you're actually a pretty good singer too, I've noticed.
Thank you.
And definitely
Yeah,
accomplished with a guitar, so that's good.
thank you. Yeah, I really wanted to, not because I got anything against you, but like I wanted to put you a little bit out of your comfort zone, because like you're making a song like Losing My Religion. You could just limit yourself to do it exactly in the way that they did it. You could make it an acoustic version.
Yeah.
You could I developed, and this is something, even though there is no trace of it online anymore, it's something that I actually experimented a lot when I actually started to record music. I would very often take something that I like but from a different kind of music, or from a very old artist, and try to transpose it and make it more my own, as almost like I wrote that song, which is not the case, of course, but like personalize it helps you feeling a little bit more like that song belongs to you.
Right.
And I feel that this specific context is very, very fitting as well, because I am, even though I'm not doing much talking, because at the very least for now, there's only music in there. I'm talking through the music. And that's, I am exposing through the music what was my journey through Jehovah's Witness. So I don't know, for some songs they are already perfect as they are, and I don't necessarily need to personalize them too much. But it is just something that you listen to a song and it unlocks in your brain. You're listening to it and you're like, I feel like I could completely change it, or maybe I could change this or change that, or just making a whole completely different thing from it. And I was quite proud of the way it came out, and but then of course I had to confront myself with you. I was like, would you do it? Would you feel like doing it? And I mean, exactly because of the fact that you never did before. That was actually quite brave of you, because like you were not slightly out of your comfort zone, you were completely thrown out of your comfort zone. And
Oh, I
I
realized it could have been terrible. You know?
No, I believe it sounds really good. It sounds exactly the way it sounded in my head when I was thinking about making it that way.
Good.
And yeah, I had a lot of fun as well. I had a lot of fun editing the video because the other two videos that I posted previously were edited very generously by a very good friend of mine. Which was pretty much helping me for free just because she loved the project. Unfortunately, she had to give up on it because she had other stuff that she was forced to prioritize.
Yeah, that
So
happens, you know.
yeah, so I never edited a video before, and I'm
Did
these,
well.
all of these files with all of this video, and I'm like, oh my god, what do I use, what do I not use, what do I cut, how do I learn how to do this from there? And then I mean, of course, YouTube was a great help, because even software like Adobe Premiere, there's plenty of people telling you online how to use it, and if you want to achieve this specific effect, how you can achieve it. So it wasn't as hard as I was afraid of. But
You did that
still,
on your laptop?
no. I have another computer. Right
Oh,
now, I'm
I see.
actually not even in my home. I'm in my
Oh,
sister's
okay.
house, because they are in Italy, and I am looking after their little cat.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so I had to put myself out of the comfort zone as well, because like I never did it before, never in a way that was even remotely trying to have like a professional sort of look. And I was actually, at the end of it, I'm sure that an actual videographer, video editor would have done it even much better than I can do. But considering that I completely started from scratches, I think it came out okay. I think it's a nice
Pretty good,
video.
yeah. It was fun to get my wife to help me do my video portion. It was a very sunny day, so I know that everything was very bright on my end. Probably didn't help a little bit, but it was what it was.
Yeah. I mean, as long as we had enough material, enough footage that we could use, and we did have enough at the end. But yeah, there are a few things that I was forced to chop completely off because the image was completely burned by the sun. But yeah, it was okay. It looks nice. I made you quite more darker than the original file, of course. Just try to make everything look homogeneous in a way. But yeah, no, it was great fun.
And now that that particular project is done, you have more songs that you intend to do?
I have for the Compassionate Apostate, I have already maybe just below 10 songs that are pretty much ready for me to shoot a video and then put the audio and the video together. I'm also working on an EP together with my band. And We started to work on those songs when the Compassionate Apostate still didn't existed officially. So this EP that we've been working on for quite a long time now, it's all based on my experience growing up as a Jehovah's Witness and getting out of the cult. So it is something that I definitely want to get out there. Too bad we had to change 3 singers in a row, so now I'm just completely fed up with it, and I'm gonna eventually end up recording my own vocals on the entire EP. And then on top of that, I've started also to write original stuff for the Compassionate Apostate as well, because the thing is, with my band, I don't want to force them to be the outlet that specifically tackles the topic of religious trauma. So then the Compassionate Apostate became the right context to work on that.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna have this EP with the band, and then the band is gonna resume regular activity, meaning the band is gonna not necessarily always talk about religious trauma. We might want to talk about other stuff as well. But the Compassionate Apostate is where I'm gonna keep banging on religious trauma, of course, and eventually, I hope in a matter of months, but I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. In the near future, I should be able to publish also an EP from the Compassionate Apostate as a solo project.
Well, I look forward to hearing that whenever it comes out and seeing the videos.
Thank you.
So, do you think it'll be something that you'll put like on Spotify or just sort of?
Oh,
YouTube?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
I'm not putting the covers on Spotify because I just don't see the point of it. Because also, like, some covers that I do are pretty much just as the original or with very little difference. Some other covers I completely change them, also, like almost like I'm trying to write a completely new song. But at the end of the day, it's not my stuff, so I don't see really a point in putting it on Spotify, even though I am aware that there's people that does that. But yeah, I want to put my original stuff mainly on Spotify, and then maybe eventually one cover or two if there is one that maybe stands out from the others in such a way that even though it's not my original song, is still worth it to have it on Spotify. We'll see about that, but like mainly Spotify is gonna be for original music.
Well, that'll be good. It'll be as a Compassionate Apostate, or you think you'll have a different name?
Yes, it's gonna be the Compassionate Apostate. Yeah.
Okay.
So with Compassionate Apostate, I'm gonna have both original stuff and covers, as long as I can make it somehow live in this religious trauma context. And of course, some of these songs are gonna be more about being a victim of trauma, but of course, I always try and put a little bit of uplifting in there. I did with the covers already, because the first two were more about rediscovering yourself, while maybe losing my religion is more about the moment in which you realize that you're actually losing your religion, and therefore you're slowly, progressively getting away from the religion. But yeah, I don't want to depress people. I want an emotional response, but I also want to help them find comfort in the kind of music that I propose. The original stuff that I wrote so far, there are 4 songs that are pretty much ready. I have instrumentals ready at the very least, and I have an idea of what the lyrics are gonna be about. 3 out of 4 are really, really heavy, like really, really upset. But again, you need to think it from the perspective of a metalhead, because I feel like metal music still to this day get a bad reputation in terms of, oh, it's too aggressive, it's noisy, and why would you listen to something like this to make you even more upset and to make you violent? But no,
And
what you saying?
even in Jehovah's Witnesses, what's the two things that they say you shouldn't listen to is rap and metal.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But actually, and that is being demonstrated scientifically by big universities around the world as well, on people that likes metal music, it has the opposite effects. It actually help us calm down. It's almost like releasing the negativity that it's already inside you, rather than acquiring more. So yeah, my positive message to everybody who's looking at you: don't get scared if you see me shouting in the near future and playing some very heavy riffage on my guitar. It's all part of the process. And then, if you don't like metal, you don't like metal, and that's absolutely okay. But the whole point is to get rid of negativity, not to again to acquire more.
You got to throw them for a loop. You do your hard stuff, and then just every once in a while, you throw in some John Denver or something.
Yeah, that was the plan anyway. Even with the covers, like, I'm trying to balance myself. I started very slow, and now Losing My Religion was the one that so far has been the one that is a little bit more metal. So I want to maybe post something in the next future that is still on the heavier side, even though I'm still not going directly to the heaviest side. But yeah, I want to keep it balanced, because again, just like therapy teaches you that negative feelings are not something to be afraid of, something to overlook, something to hide, they also have a special place in my heart in the way that they manifest in arts, both figuratively and in the audio realm. There's something special about negative feelings in arts, and the artistic expression is what help us find catharsis. So maybe from the eye of the person who actually does the piece of art, that's more clear. And maybe as a beholder, as a spectator, maybe it's a little bit more difficult to understand. Maybe it's a little bit counterintuitive. But and then again, there's taste. There's just people that don't like that kind of expression. But it's more about, I would never do bungee jumping, for example, because I'm very afraid of heights. But imagine the rush of adrenaline that you can get from an extreme sport. Listening to metal music, watching a horror movie, for people like us, is exactly that. It doesn't makes us feel worse, it makes us feel better. It actually helps us quite a lot in terms of mental health.
I think that making music and having a message behind it is a great thing, because you get to help people, presenting with that message, but it's also cathartic for you as the artist doing it, to have that way to get those feelings out, to get that message out. Like when you said, when you have the therapy, certain things come up and then you release it, and you're sort of releasing some of that into your music.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree.
Do you have any other artistic projects that you work on, or is it mostly just music at this point?
It's mostly music. I will not get too much in the details of it, but I am planning to try and see if somehow it is possible to turn the EP that I'm trying to publish with my band into a short music, to which the EP would then be sort of a soundtrack. So rather than having a few different video clips with one song each, you can have that option, but like there would be a story that develops through those video clips, and then you would eventually have a longer format in which you have a more of a shorter film, a short movie, rather than a variety
That'd
of
be
video
interesting.
clips. It's interesting, and what is
It's sort
also
of the
interesting is
sort of
what
like
is
the
also
Apostate
interesting.
Compassionate, the musical.
Yeah. What is interesting is also trying to do in without money. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it. I am considering as well maybe helping myself with some artificial intelligence, which would definitely completely annihilate the cost of the whole production, even though there is something beautiful about shooting an actual video. I did it a couple of times now, so not that many. But yeah, there is something beautiful in actually shooting the video and then putting
Yeah.
it together. And I feel that, artificial intelligence can be a massive help, because sometimes you have ideas then translated in the real 3D world, they're just way too expensive, and
Mhm.
I have idea that are very expensive, so I either downsize the whole project or I'm gonna have to find a different way. Anyway, I'm working on it, but the idea will be to have, yes, a short movie to
That's
which
cool.
the EP will be a soundtrack, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that feel that AI is terrible and it's ruining the future and things, but to me, it's a useful tool that if you use it correctly can be very beneficial. Yeah, there's some things you have to worry about. Now your Facebook feed, half the stuff you're like, that's not real. It's just somebody creates a picture
True.
and it's so I use it for images for my thumbnails because it's nice and it's quick and
Mhm.
it's better than I would be able to do. I can draw. I used to do pencil portraits, so I have some artistic ability that way, but that's not my focus. My focus is, for right now, I've been working on storytelling, and I don't have time to sit, put hours into a drawing. I'm just going to crank it out and put the video out. That's my
No,
focus.
of course, and that's the other thing. Like trying to do things without a budget, and in this kind of world is like it's very difficult, and the industry as well tries to push musicians to do everything on their own now, because there's not really much money to invest in music. So every band needs to not just do their own music, they need to do the music, they need to avoid the cat go walking on my keyboard. They need to do their graphic design, and they need to do their own merchandise, and they
Hmm.
need to advertise themselves, they need to be their own PR management, they need to shoot their own video and do the editing. What you're trying to do, please. Cat is being naughty now.
That's their way.
Yeah.
I think I was just thinking about this interview. I might actually release this on the Ex Witness Awake channel, and then also on the Apostate Coalition, just because the viewership is a little higher on my personal channel. And
Mm-hmm.
I hate to do an interview and then 15 people have seen it, so I want to make sure that
Yeah.
it's seen by more people.
Yeah, it's okay by me, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you know, there is a massive difference in using AI the way you do it or the way I'm thinking about,
Mm.
and completely uh, s- mm, give throw everything towards AI and not using real people anymore. I think, especially if you have experienced it, shooting an actual video clip, it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful experience, especially if you're working with people that are professional and then that know what they're doing. It's very, very different. And once you see the final product as well, and it's the same for realizing an artwork for an album, or the same that is gonna become writing your own songs and just subsidizing that to an AI generator. It's not the same thing.
It's not.
It's not the
I
same
agree with
thing.
you.
So I don't think we're ever gonna completely lose the human element. One thing that I am hoping for is that maybe people is gonna start reevaluating the cost of realizing certain things in the real world, because like if you have a big production in mind, very often the bigger part of the money that you're gonna have to spend are not necessarily about the kind of equipment that you're using, and not necessarily about paying off all of the people that are involved with the project. The prices of the insurance, if you want to shoot a video in specific locations and the team of people that is working there is more than a certain number, it's mental. Basically only big production can afford to do those kind of production. But
Yeah.
maybe you as a small creator, you have a nice idea that you want to realize, and just you will never be able to do it on your own because you cannot afford the money.
Oh. And we lost him. So I'll take this moment to talk about my jacket I'm wearing here, in case anybody through this whole interview has wondered why I'm wearing a suit jacket. It's cold in my office, and yeah, it doesn't fit me anymore, but it works for that purpose. I won't even cut it out. I was just explaining to the audience why I'm wearing this suit jacket.
I
there
don't
you go.
even know if my page froze again or if it was the cat being naughty and touched something on my keyboard. Anyway,
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. I just wanted to let you know that I do have to go very soon, unfortunately. So what was I going to say now? Yeah. So if you've got this far in this interview, please check out Jacopo's work on the Compassionate Apostate. If you're interested in, as the discussion was earlier, embracing different views and different experiences from other groups, not just ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, but ex-Mormon, ex-evangelical, ex-whatever. We have a bit of that in our Discord. It's mostly XJW, admittedly, but we do have some of other previous, religious faiths, and it's been good. I just did an interview a couple weeks ago, with someone who was part of a evangelical, but also a cult that was a black supremacist group. So that was an interesting interview. Maybe you want to check that one out. So yeah, you can get all kinds. We benefit from varied experiences and advice that we can give from other people.
and also the fact that there are not too many people that are not ex-Jehovah's Witness in Apostate Coalition is something that maybe will change in the future. We want other people to join as well, because it's good. Let's share the knowledge.
Yes. And I was thinking too, you were talking about we have so many different apostates now that I think about when they have the broadcast of like, we have such rich spiritual food, so much spiritual food. Like, we got you beat, buddy. Your once a month broadcast and some articles is nothing. We got thousands of XJWs that
We get spiritual
tell their
food
story,
and regular food on a daily basis.
Yep. Spiritual food, yeah. Different kind of spirit, I guess. So, did you have any final thoughts? Anything that you wanted to make sure to share with the people?
Yeah, be kind.
Yes.
And if there is one final thought that it's been on my mind for quite a long time now, the moment I got more involved with the different kinds of activism that I do, I've noticed two things: that there is a massive tendency to be victims of conspiracy theories just because we find them captivating, but also because we have been trained to pretty much accept the conspiracy theories that we have been served as spiritual food in
Yeah.
the past. So be careful. Don't just do your own research. Do your research, but before that, learn what doing research means, because there is a methodology to learn. Not Googling and finding random stuff. It's not just research. And it's actually something boring. It's tedious because the internet is full of everything, and if anything, is full of conspiracy theories and articles and pages that support them back. Theories up.
Yeah.
But
Plus,
yeah, double
just
checking. Yeah.
Sorry, just to add to your thought,
Yeah.
you're right, because you can get confirmation bias very easily by just looking up things that you always look up, and your YouTube For You page or whatever you have to be looking at will present you things that you want to hear. So
Yeah.
you have to dig a little deeper.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, there is not one single apostate experience. And the apostate word is very colorful. Let's put it this way. There's so many variants. There's so many different people that have left whatever sort of group, and then they might have became agnostic atheist as I am, or they might have become they might have joined a different form of Christianity, they might have become Buddhist, they might have become whatever. And in terms of activism, I think it's quite important that we stop bickering between each other, trying to decide who's the coolest apostate. First of all, I'm the coolest apostate. What are even we talking about?
I'll take the number 2 position then.
Seriously though, for example, personally, I don't believe at all in spiritual warfare, but like it is everybody's prerogative to pursue spiritual warfare, and if they think that that's important for them. But in terms of actual battles that we bring to court, we need to stay within the realm of what is possible to demonstrate in a court of law. And regardless of believing in spiritual warfare or not, it's quite important that we focus on the stuff that can be demonstrated in the court of law, because those are the only things that are gonna make a difference in the here and now. And at the end of it all, we just want for people to stop suffering the abuse of controlling groups. If they want to join any other religion, it's their choice. But like, it's time to stop religious groups from always getting a pass when they trample basic human rights. That's something that needs to stop happening. And for that to happen, we need to all be driving in the same direction. So if you do any sort of advocacy and activism in that realm, you need to be willing to work with people that not necessarily have exactly the same point of view as you might have in terms of personal beliefs.
And in line with that, there's, like you said, there's all kinds of different beliefs and viewpoints, and having faith, having not faith, it's fine. Whatever works for you in your life, it's your life, and whatever you choose, you might decide that being a Jehovah's Witness is great, and you know what, more power to you. But be informed so that you can make a decision based on what the truth really is, not just what they tell you. Because you have to be prepared for the consequences of that choice to live that way. So, whatever your beliefs are, just be informed, learn what it's all about, so you can go into it with, without being, I don't know where I'm not sure what I'm going with that. Without suffering negative consequences and having something surprise you in the end. Like, I didn't know. Well, look into it first.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I have to say on that subject.
Thank
So it's been great having you here on the channels, channels, depending on where this ends up. And if you have more music that you want to do, you think I could work for that. I can sing in a lot of different styles, so I'm a bit of a musical chameleon that way.
I've got you on my speed dial.
All right, perfect. Okay, so thank you everybody for watching, and we'll catch you later. And I don't really have an outro thing to say, so I guess bye for now.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
You're very welcome. Bye now.
It's about the things that we overcome. Tomorrow's a new day. I will find a way. What if this was your destiny? All that pain just so you could see everything you need is inside you.